Welcome to the Rise of the Trades podcast, the show dedicated to helping you to build, grow, and scale your trades or construction business. All rise for your host, Craig Wilkinson.
Welcome to this week's coaching episode of the Rise of the Trades podcast, where we help trades and construction business owners to skyrocket leads, explode net profits without having to graft 60 hours a week and becoming that busy fool. In this episode, I want to have an honest conversation with you that nobody warns you about of how brutal and hard work it is building, growing and scaling a trades or construction business. But before we go there, I'd just like to remind you that the Trades Freedom Club has a free Facebook group and community that's packed full of professional tradesmen and women that want to help and support each other on their journeys to success. So if you're not already a member of our free Facebook group, please consider hitting the link in the show notes and the description of this episode and come and join us inside our free Facebook group and community. Now, let's transition over to this week's coaching episode. For anyone that knows me, whether that's from our Facebook group, these podcast episodes that I do on a weekly basis, maybe a Growth Club or Inner Circle member, and you're being coached by me, I would hope that you would understand how honest, open and transparent I am with everything that I do in my business and my life and everything. You see, I'm not one of these people that's faking it till they make it. And that is precisely what this episode is all about. Because I genuinely believe that there are so many trades and construction business owners out there that right now are feeling it's tough. They're exhausted, they're overwhelmed, they're frustrated, and even feel like they're failing. Simply because of tools such as, or marketing tools like social media that will have you convinced that everybody has got this perfect business, that everybody's got this perfect lifestyle, that everybody's got the perfect relationship at home. And what we're doing is we're starting to compare ourselves with other businesses and looking at what they're posting and then looking at our business, and it's making us feel like we're doing something wrong. You're not doing anything wrong. Let me tell you now, building, growing and scaling any business, never mind a trades or construction business, is the toughest job in the world. And we cannot no longer start comparing ourselves to all these fake people that are on social media posting about the perfect customer and the big £500,000 job and how they've got a brand new vehicle and they're employing staff and they're moving into new offices. Listen, on face value, it looks great, but you've got absolutely no idea what's happening in their business behind the scenes. You've got no how much debt they're racking up, how much bigger mortgage they've got, how much fake finance they've got on them vans or posh cars that they're touting about. And all this lot is really driving me a little bit mad. It's driving me nuts because it's not the real world and it's giving a misconception that running a business is easy. It's not easy, it's hard. Now, you might say, hang on a minute, Craig, are you mad? You can't be saying this. As a business and marketing coach, particularly as a trades business and marketing coach, surely shouldn't you be telling us all how easy it is to build, grow and scale a business? How by just simply putting this in place or doing that, you're going to generate a whole host of new leads. You're going to double your profit margins. You're going to have a lifestyle that you and your family are proud of. ultimately, I want you to get to that, but I'm not going to sit here and say to you it's easy to get there, because it's not. And what's concerned me is the amount of Facebook ads that are popping up directed towards tradesmen and women that are coaches or mentors or whatever you want to call them, that are selling you the dream. They're selling you the dream. You see, they've hired a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, and they've pulled up outside somebody's house and making it out as though it's theirs. They've gone and hired a private jet for an hour, or they've got a long weekend away in Dubai and they're making it look like they're having an amazing time in Dubai and life's amazing and making all this money. Listen, 99% of people that are portraying living the lifestyle and living the dream are a million miles away from it. And the one thing that you will never, ever see me or hear me doing is selling anybody the dream. Because after being in business for 32 years, and the stress, the pain, the sleepless nights, the anxiety, the worry that I've been through over all them years to get to where I am now, I am telling you now, it is tough. Yes, I could stand in front of my beautiful big 5-bedroom stone detached house that I live in, and I could be bragging about it. Yes, I could be stood in front of my 120 grand brand new Range Rover, and I could be bragging about it. Yes, I've been to Dubai at New Year and stayed in Atlantis, the Palm, one of the most expensive hotels at New Year in Dubai. But do you ever see me bragging about it? No. Because for me to have got what I've got now, I have had to run through brick walls. I've had to sweat blood in my business. I've had to do things that other people aren't prepared to do. I've had to sacrifice so much. I've had to go without to get to where I am now. So when I'm seeing these Facebook ads popping up of come and join a 12-week crash program where we're going to teach you how to build and grow a business and take it from 500 grand to 2 million inside 12 weeks. For 99% of people that get drawn in to that lifestyle and that selling the dream, it is not going to work. Now listen, the law of averages say if you get 100 people on a course, 1 or 2 might do something special, but then what happens then? All the attention is around them and not the other 98 people and the failures that they've done. So in this episode, I'm not here to criticise other coaches, right? Let them crack on with what they want to crack on with. I'm here for you to say, let's not continue to compare ourselves against competitors or the influencers that you're looking at on social media, because the reality is that is not real. What is real is the struggle. And that is what I'm going to be transparent about and honest about on this episode. And yes, I know for many people, they might look at me and go, Craig, you shouldn't be saying this because you're doing yourself out of business. You should be selling the dream. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. Well, listen, that goes against my values, morals, standards, beliefs, and culture, because I believe that is mismarketing, and that is not how I've made my money and my fortune. I've made my money and fortune by grafting my nuts off for 32 years to get to where I am today. And that is real. And that is what we're going to be talking about in the remainder of this episode. Let me rewind all the way back to 1994. Because at that point, I was a 23-year-old, brilliant joiner, bench joiner by trade, but I could do first fix, second fix, finishing, house bashing, I could do it all. And I had this dream to go self-employed, get a second-hand rusty red transit van that I paid 300 quid for, take my tools and go self-employed. Now, you've got to remember, back in 1994, websites had just about been heard of in the UK. Emails had just been invented. This thing called the World Wide Web and this thing called dial-up, where you had to plug a cable into your wall to try and get this thing called the internet, had just come on the scenes. There were no such thing as video marketing. There were no social media like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. There were none of that. How I started off in business were literally having leaflets printed, pounding the streets and handing leaflets out. I didn't have a laptop. Well, laptops didn't exist. Computers existed back then. But I didn't have the money to buy one of these computers. What I'd got was a typewriter where I had to change the ribbon in it. And I had to sit at night typing letters out to builders and architects, signing the letters, yours sincerely, like you did back then, writing on an envelope, going to the post office, getting a stamp, sticking stamp on the envelope and putting it in a post box. That's how I started to market my business back in 1994. Now, I had this vision and aspiration to become wealthy, to not let my family struggle like I'd struggled as a kid growing up, like I'm sure many of you listening to this will have as a kid. Growing up, we had nothing in our house. My mum and dad had nothing. My dad were a butcher. My mum were a lollipop lady. That's how they started off. We had nothing. But I had this vision to build and grow and scale a business to provide a lifestyle to me and my family that I never had. And at 23 years old, I am married with 2 young children and a mortgage round my neck. And all I did for them first 3 years were work hours that I've never seen anybody else work before. I mean, I'm working 100 hours a week, trying to build a business back in the 90s on word of mouth, pay a mortgage, pay for 2 kids, pay for a wife, pay for me van, pay for me car, put money on food on the table, clothe me kids. That's all I wanted to do. And I'm telling you now, them first 3 years were a massive struggle. Even to the point where, and again, I'm open and transparent, at 26-year-old, 3 years into my journey, the stress and strains of being skint, being broke, working stupid hours, trying to build this business, unbeknownst to me building it the wrong way, but I didn't know back then, took its toll on my marriage. And therefore it cost me my first marriage. For 3 years after that, I went on a negative downward spiral because my wife's left me, she's took my kids, the house went, I'm living back at my mum and dad's at 26-year-old. You know, it was a tough time. But I grind it out. And what we don't realise in running a business, even in them early years, the hours that you've got to put in, the sacrifice that you've got to put in, you know, ignoring your husband, your wife, your partners, your kids, because you're trying to build a better quality of life for them. And you've got to put the time and effort into your business. And you know this, so you're grafting every hour God sends. Then it sort of forms relationships, problems at homes. Yeah. Cracks start to appear, arguments start to happen. Listen, I've lived it, so I know what most people are going through. But then into my, let's say, early 30s, I grew my business to having around 14 members of staff. I got loads of vans on road. We'd moved into our own offices. And here's me thinking I'm growing my business. Unbeknownst to me, I was doing the complete opposite. Here's me thinking taking on more work, more staff, moving into these lovely, nice offices, we're growing my business. But back then, I didn't understand the numbers in my business. So all that's happening is my overheads are just increasing. And the bit of profit that we were making, now the overheads are swallowing up all that profit. And unbeknownst to me, I'm making a loss. So now I'm trading now for another couple of years, making a loss, and I'm now falling into debt. So now I've got sleepless nights, I've got worry, I've got stress, I've got no money, I'm working stupid hours. I'd basically built a monster that were out of control. You can't just go around sacking people. You can't just get out of a lease that you've signed up to 3 years. You know, you're in. There's nothing you can do. And again, I continued to work for another 2 or 3 years, losing money. I mean, how stupid were that? So when it comes to the early days of building a business, the cash flow problems, the dodgy customers that I've took on, not having enough money to pay any taxes, not having enough money to pay wages, being put on stop at suppliers and having to change my suppliers because I'd spent the money that I should have been paying off my suppliers' bills with. I'd had to live on that. Are you with me? So I fully understand what it's like. And I made some terrible, terrible, terrible mistakes in them first 10 years of me running a business that cost me dearly, cost me everything. But there's one thing that I didn't have back then that we've all got now is social media. You see, I reckon if I'd have had social media back then and I'd made all these terrible mistakes that's cost me, but I was seeing everybody else around me supposedly doing incredibly well, it would have probably finished me off, seriously. And that's the challenge that we've got in today's day and age, in the fact that we're doing everything that we think we need to be doing in a business. Admittedly, like me, for 10 years, a lot of what I was doing were wrong because I was winging it. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anybody in my life or my business to teach me how to build and grow a proper business. I was just winging it. And admittedly, many people listening to this episode, you'll be winging it now. But I got to the point where I'd started to turn my business round. I would get myself out of debt and I would back like break even, if you like. And that was 19 years ago. And then what I did 19 years ago, I went to something called a networking event. And I'd never been to a networking event in my life before. And I walked into this networking event with my rigger boots on, my like Snickers work trousers, my polo shirt with my logo on, covered in decorators' coke and plaster dust and sawdust and all sorts. And when I walked into this networking event, I was just met with a wall of men and women wearing suits and shirts and ties, drinking teas and coffees with saucers. The mug in my van had not been washed for 3 years. And I'm like, what on earth is this? Is this some kind of cult that I've joined? And it made me take me outside my comfort zone. But at the end of that networking event, I were ushered to some comfy seats and I were asked if I wanted to join this networking event. And I still to this day, 19 years later, don't know whether I pulled my checkbook out of my back pocket, because back then we had checkbooks, not debit cards, it were checkbooks. And I wrote a check to join this networking event and I joined. And I still don't know whether I joined just to get the hell out of that room because it made me feel that uncomfortable, or whether I joined because subconsciously, deep down, I knew that I needed help. Now, to fast forward a long story, at that networking group, I met a business coach. And I had no idea what a business coach was 19 years ago. And he said to me, Craig, what's your business plan? I'm like, I ain't got one. He's like, what's your marketing strategy? I'm like, well, I deliver leaflets and I rely on word of mouth. He's like, do you understand all the numbers in your business? I'm like, I ain't got a clue. He's like, do you know how to price jobs properly? I'm like, no. He's like, what about gross and net profit margins and directors' loan accounts and all this? I'm like, mate, honestly, that's like alien to me. He's like, how do you employ your members of staff? Are you using psychology and things like disc profile and VAC profiling and Belbin reports? I'm like, I ain't got a clue what you're talking about. So I got all this lot going off and I took this business coach on 19 years ago. And it was this business coach that made me understand that I'd been winging it for all them years. And if I wanted to build, grow and scale a proper business that did provide me with a lifestyle that I wanted, I had to learn the skill of building and growing a real business. And the way Michi put it over to me is, Craig, when you did your apprenticeship as a joiner, what year did you start in? I said, I started in 1987 as an apprentice joiner. He's like, well, okay, that's a few years ago. I'm like, I know it is. He says, how long were your apprenticeship? I said, it were a 5-year apprenticeship. He says, so it took you 5 years just to learn how to become a joiner. Is that right? And I'm like, yeah. He said, well, if you'd have spent 5 years on learning how to become a businessman and not just a joiner playing at it and winging it, you'd have probably been further forward than you are now. But given the fact that you've not learned any real skills other than trial and error and making it up as you go along and learning by your own mistakes, you've had no mentoring, no coaching, you've got no strategies on how to build and grow a business. Do you not think that if you're going to build and grow a business that's going to look after you and your family for the rest of your lives, you have to have an apprenticeship on how to build, grow and scale a business? In other words, you've got to learn. Just like it took you 5 years to learn how to become a joiner, you've got to learn how to become a businessman, surely. And when he started explaining this to me, I'm like, do you know what? This makes total sense. I have been winging it because I just thought building and growing a business were just all about, if I market my business and get leads in, and then I can turn them leads into a paying customer, and I can get multiple jobs running and have 2 or 3 vans on road and employ 2 or 3 more joiners, they can be making all the money while I come off the tools and just go around pricing jobs. And that's how most tradesmen and women think. But deep down, it takes a lot more to build and grow and scale a business than just doing that. And again, there'll be many people listening to this episode now that will be winging it and doing the same as what I used to do. But until we understand that to build and grow and scale your business to the levels you want to get to, you're going to have to learn new skills. Until we get to that point, which is a mindset shift, nothing's going to change. It's like that definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, and expecting some kind of miracle to happen. Well, listen, it's not going to happen. The only way we're going to change our circumstances is by changing our mindset and changing our approach to business. And then I went down a rabbit hole of coaching and mentoring and personal development. And 3 years later, I completely changed the business round to a point where I built a saleable asset. And then I got approached by a main contractor that came in and bought me out lock, stock and barrel, setting me and my family up, my second marriage, and my wife to my marriage to Sarah, setting us up financially for the rest of our lives. And it were at that point back in 2012 where I had so many subbies that used to work for me or people that I knew came to me and said, Craig, how the hell have you done it? I remember you being that busy full joiner, working stupid hours, everybody making money out of you. You being the last one to get paid if you could actually pay yourself. And now look at you. How have you done it? So back in 2012, just as things like Facebook and Twitter started emerging, I started running small coaching events in Sheffield to tradesmen and women that I knew needed help. And we started working on things like mindset, personal development, business planning, marketing strategy, systems, procedures, automations back in 2012, how to employ a team, all the numbers inside your business, and starting to make them understand that there's more to building and growing and scaling a business than just being busy with work. Right? So that's how it all started for me back in 2012. And as far as I'm aware, I was the very first original trades/construction business and marketing coach to ever put any events on to help people start to grow the businesses. And since then, I've helped over 30,000 tradesmen and women to do just that. We've changed lives. I've got people off drugs. I've got people off alcohol. I've saved people's marriages. We've grown the businesses together. We've put them into a completely different place in their life. And we've done all that since 2012. But to get to that point is not easy. There is no magic wand. There is no silver bullet. There is no magic pill that anybody can take that's going to overnight turn you from where you are now into an overnight success. There is no 12-week crash course that can get you from where you are now to where you want to be, because it takes years. And I'd rather be open and transparent with people and say, listen, if you're finding it difficult, it's normal. What you need to do is change your mindset and change your approach. Let us work with you and help you to get you to where you want to be. How long does that take? Depends on you. Depends on how much commitment you're going to put into it, how much investment you're going to put into it. If you need a new website, you need money for a new website. If you need new systems, you've got to put money into new systems. But if you haven't got the money yet to put into a new website, then we'll wait until you've got the investment to do it. Are you with me? So it's going to take a bit longer. The point I'm making here is it takes time to get from where you are now to where you want to be. So if your business feels hard right now, good. That means you're in a fight. That means that you care. That means that you're pushing forward. That means that you're trying to build something better for yourself and your family. And I just want you to know that you're not behind. You're not failing. You're not the only one with the struggle. Most business owners that you look up to right now have gone through the exact same struggle, the exact same fight as what you're going through right now. The difference is they keep going. They never quit. If I had £1 for every time over this, since the last 19 years, I've done extremely well. But prior to that, if I'd had £1 for every time I wanted to throw the towel in because it was getting too much, the times where as a grown-ass man, I've broke down crying because the business is consuming me. If I had £1 for every time I'd have done that, I'd have been a millionaire years ago. I've not had to have waited until now to have hit it. Are you with me? So the struggle's real, but it doesn't have to be that way. Now, in this chapter, I'm going to walk through 3 action tasks that I want you to go away and implement off the back of this episode. The first one I've called fake social media. Stop comparing yourself to others. And this is the danger, isn't it? That I'm sure there's businesses in and around your location or your local town or city. And you look up to these businesses and you look at them and you think, do you know what? I'm going to aspire and work towards being like them. Well, that's all well and good, setting a benchmark and setting a goal to do that. But if we're in the busy fool stage where we're winging it and we're constantly looking at these other businesses, even if it's just another one-person band, but he's got a better van than you, or they've got systems in place, or they've just took another member of staff on, or they're doing bigger or better jobs than you, or their branding looks better than you. If we're going to constantly keep comparing ourselves to other people, then guess what? We're going to feel like crap. And that's half the battle. A lot of it is you're convincing yourself that you're doing things wrong because you're looking at other people that claim to being okay. And maybe they are doing okay. Maybe they've got it right and something's working for them in the business. And if that's the case, brilliant. Go and ask them how they've done it. But let me be brutally honest with you here. I'd say 9 out of 10 businesses on social media that look like they're doing incredibly well, they're not. Remember, you've got absolutely no idea how much debt that business is in to get them offices, to get them new vans, to have invested into that brand new website or whatever it is they're doing. And all you do is you keep looking at them and then criticising yourself. And then you get angry and frustrated with yourself because you're like, why can't I do it? Doesn't matter what I do. Doesn't matter how many hours I work a week. Doesn't matter how commitment I put in. No matter what I do and what I try, I just can't seem to get to their level. You can get to their level, but you just need to change your approach. And again, these Facebook ads that are out there all the time, 12-week crash course on doubling your turnover. Listen, it's easy to generate leads. Generating leads is not a problem. I can teach you how to generate more leads in 12 weeks myself. But the problem then lies in this. If we were to double the amount, treble the amount of lead, quadruple the amount of leads coming into your business, which many people will need now because some people are struggling with lead generation. But if that's all we ever did and we focused on that for 3 months, 12 weeks, do you think we could generate more leads? The answer is yes. But then when the leads come in, if you haven't got the right systems like ServiceMate or Leadzilla or whatever else you're using to manage the customer journey and you've got no automations set and you're doing everything manually, how the hell are you going to cope with doubling or quadrupling your leads if you're doing everything manually? Think about it. If you've got another 10 jobs a week to go and look at, and you've not vetted your customers because you've got no vetting process in place, and you're driving half an hour to all these extra 10 jobs you've got to look at, that's 5 hours of travelling time just to get there. 5 hours of travelling time just to get back. Maybe another 5 hours of quoting and sending quotes across. So that's an extra 15 hours a week. Where are you going to get 2 days extra a week from if you're already working 50, 60 hours a week? You're not. So you're going to crack under the stresses and strain of only focusing on generating new leads over them 12 weeks. So generating leads is easy. I'll teach you how to do that in 12 weeks, but I don't just want to teach you that because you can't survive. It's then, okay, we get these leads in, then what's going to happen? You need the systems. So then let's work on putting the systems on. The systems are going to take another 3 months to build. Now you're 6 months into it. But then it's a case of, okay, Craig, I'm getting the leads coming in and now I've got the systems in place. Brilliant. But how can you cope with that amount of work coming in when there's only you and an apprentice or you and 3 fitters? You're going to need more staff. You're going to need a bigger team. Okay, well, how do I do that, Craig? Well, that's going to take another 3 months to teach you. Now we're 9 months into it. Then it's a case of, all right, I've got the leads coming in. The systems are taking care of the customer journey. And now I've got the team to do the work. Brilliant. But what about the numbers in your business? How do you know you're making profit? How do you know what gross profit, net profit, retained profit? How do you know how much corporation tax and VAT you need to set aside? What about setting up your 4 money accounts and transferring money? What about setting up your pension to offset your corporation tax? What about getting your overdrawn director's loan account down? What about creating a cash flow forecast? Because we're scaling as business now, we need to make sure that when we move into them offices in 3 months' time, we can afford them. So we need a cash flow forecast. That's going to take another 3 months. Now you're 12 months into the journey. So generating leads in 12 weeks is easy, but building and growing and scaling the business beyond that is going to take time. Do you get what I'm saying? So number 1, stop comparing yourself to everybody else. Use other people as inspiration, but don't use them as the benchmark of where you're currently at. You can quite easily change your business and your life around if you change your approach. Which now brings me on to number 2. And number 2 is running a business can sometimes be a lonely place in the fact that you're having to do everything. Even though 1 minute you're the admin person, then you're doing the marketing, then you're the accountant, then you're the surveyor, then you're the estimator, then you're the buyer, then you're on the tools, then you're doing your paperwork, right? All these different, then you're the boss, then you're the recruiter. You've got to wear all these different hats in your business, right? And you're on that hamster wheel day after day, grinding it out. But who actually is there to help and support you? Who is there to point you in the right direction? Who is there to motivate you and hold you accountable? What community have you got of people that you can go and chat to that actually understand the frustrations and the stresses of growing a trades business? Because let's face it, even though your husband, wife, or your partner might be supporting you in this business, they don't see what you go through. They don't feel what you go through. And even your best mates who aren't in the trade, who have got jobs, yeah, you can chat to them, but they don't understand it, do they? They can't advise you. They're employed doing something in a completely different industry. So who have you got as a support network? Who have you got to bounce ideas off? Who have you got to go to when you feel stuck or you feel a bit down and out? Well, that's where the Trades Freedom Club and our community comes in, which is why I've started off at the beginning of this episode by saying, come and join our Facebook group and community. You'll get loads of help and support in there from people that are doing exactly the same as you, but are there to help and support each other on their journeys. You've got this podcast where I give all the knowledge away for free. You don't have to join our growth club or join our inner circle. If you can get all the knowledge that you want and the accountability, and you're taking action from this podcast and do it all yourself, go for it. That's why I do the podcast. But you might get to a point where you said, you know what, Craig, I'm ready for that next step. I'm ready for some mentoring or coaching. Brilliant. Come and join our growth club. Come and join our inner circle. Whatever you need to do, you're going to need a support network of people around you that understand your game, that understand your industry, and understand the challenges, the obstacles, the hurdles, and the walls that you come across in a trades and construction business. You can't do it on your own. Trust me, I tried and it almost killed me. And the third thing I want you to do is I want you to seriously consider getting massively involved into personal development and making that conditional shift and change in your own mindset and your own approach to your business. Now, I don't know where you are on your personal development journey. When I started mine 19 years ago, when I started getting coaching, I'd never even heard of personal development, never heard of mental health. I never heard of any of this. But now, personal development, motivation, mental health is something that we're all aware of because it's there, it's within touching distance. We can go to YouTube, we can listen to podcasts and audiobooks, and it teaches about mindset and personal development. But let me share this with you now. When people say to me, Craig, what is the number one key to success out of everything that comes together to build and grow a business or a successful life? What is the number one key to success? Is it money? Is it time? What is it? I say to them, it's a shift and change in the business owner's mindset. And they look at me going out and they go, no, none of that pink and fluffy mindset nonsense. Just tell me how to make more money. How can I free up time? How can I get my marketing working? How can I find and recruit the best fitters or installers or engineers? How do I do that? I'm saying, listen, you're not listening to what I'm telling you. you've got to change your mindset first. And the way in which you change your mindset is by personally developing yourself. And if you're not ahead of the business, if you're not personally growing quicker and faster than the business is growing, then what happens is the business starts to control you. And the minute the business is in control of you, and the minute the business is ahead of you, the business is now controlling your time. Your business now controls your finances, and your business now controls the relationships within that business. In other words, the business is dictating and pulling you in whatever direction the business wants to take you in. And if that's you and you're winging it and you feel like you ain't got time, you're not making money, you can't do this, you can't do that, you've got challenges, that suggests to me that the business is controlling you. The only way you are going to scale your business and build that lifestyle that you deserve for you and your family is by you being in front of the business and you dragging the business behind you. In other words, you are in control of every element of your business. So you're in front of it. So the business is playing catch up to you. So if you're not personally developing yourself, if you've not got a morning routine and you're changing and adapting your morning routine, you've not got an evening routine, you're not getting rid of all the bad habits that you've picked up in your business along the way. If you're not looking after yourself in terms of what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're putting into your body, if you're not exercising, going at gym, going for a run, spending some me time away from the business on you, giving yourself some headspace. If you're not doing gratitude journals, if you're not doing affirmations, if you're not listening to motivational, educational content on a daily basis, listen, the list goes on. But if you're not doing anything like this for yourself, you're never going to get your business to where you want it to be. And for those people that are personally developing themselves, maybe you are one of my Growth Club members and Inner Circle members, where you know I'm ramming this down your throats in our Growth Club or in our private WhatsApp groups or whatever. You know that I'm ramming this down your throats. I also understand that sometimes you're well on with your personal development. You've started gym again. You've got that morning routine nailed up. You're getting up early. You're not hitting snooze button anymore. You've got your mojo back. You've got your motivation back. You're falling back in love with your business. All this starts to happen, but it only takes one low blow or a series of challenges to hit you in a wanna. Then all of a sudden, that new momentum that you've got, you've lost it. And then trying to get back on the saddle and back into it is tough. It's like when you're good at gym for 6 months, you start to see results. You know, you tone up, you're dropping weight, you feel fitter, healthier. You're good at gym, so you don't want to smash ale and you're not eating processed food all the time because you're fitter and healthier. But when you fall off the gym, you know that to get yourself back in that gym and get yourself back to that shape is hard work. Well, that's the same as personal development. So I know there's going to be some of you that's been on this journey, but for whatever reason, you've fallen by wayside. You know deep down that you need to give yourself a kick up the backside and get back on it. This is your kick up the backside to get back on it. Because without you developing yourself and growing yourself, you're going to struggle to get your business to where you want it to be. Now, let me share a few podcast episodes that's going to help you in these 3 areas that I've just shared with you now. Let's start off with you comparing yourself to your competitors and making yourself feel crap. If that's you, I want you to go and listen to episode number 88. Because in 88, I've got an episode called Stop Comparing Yourself to Your Competition and How to Find Your Own Superpower to help you grow your business. Because inside you, there is a genius waiting to escape. And my genius without going into too much detail, because I share it in the podcast, is from 7-year-old, and I'm going back to 70s, 1970s here. I was born in 70, so 1977. I was diagnosed with this thing called dyslexia. Nobody knew what it were really back then. So with me, I'm rubbish at reading, I'm rubbish at writing, and I always have been. And I used to have that as something that held me back. But in actual fact, I found some positives and some strengths that counteract that dyslexia, which is my superpower. And one of my superpowers is my motivation and my commitment and my drive and my will to run through brick walls and never quit. I've got that as a superpower, so I pull on it. So episode 88, it's about stop comparing yourself, find your own superpower, find your own skill set that you're really good at, and I teach you how to find that in 88, and use them strengths to catapult you and your business forward. The second podcast is where I said, go and find a community, get some coaching, understand where you need to start on your, let's say, new mentoring development side. Go and check out episode number 24. Because in episode 24, I give you the 5-step blueprint on how to grow your business the right way. Because there's 5 steps that form the backbone of any business. And you need to put these 5 steps in the right order. You see, I guarantee you'll be missing one of these or a number of these 5 steps, and that's what's holding you back. Or you might have got all 5 steps in, but you've brought them in the wrong order, which is now causing you problems. So if you want to know where to start when it comes to coaching, implementation of things like systems and marketing and things like that into your business and doing them in the right order, episode 24 is what you need to listen to. And finally, go and check out episode 93. Because 93 is about mindset and personal development that will help you transform your business and your life. Seriously. So if you are dipping your toe into this mindset and personal development malarkey, go and check that out. Or if you've already been down this route and you've fallen by the wayside, you need to go back and check out episode number 93. Just remember this. Where you are right now in your business or your life does not define your future. You look at me 19 years ago, you could not have seen a more polar opposite person to I am today. I was down in dumps, down on my luck, negative, sat on my pity potty, blaming everybody else, blame excuses and denial. Why has this happened to me? Listen, it had happened to me because I'd let it happen. I'd done it. But the minute I had that massive shift in mindset and looked at changing my approach to business and life, and looked at, okay, where can I get the help from? Where can I get the support from? Where can I get the knowledge and the strategies from that are proven to work? Get my head down and go for it with a plan rather than winging it. It was at that point where things started to change. Listen, they didn't happen overnight, but the compound effect kicks in. And as long as you're progressing and you're taking one step forward every day, in 30 days, you've took 30 steps forward, and that's going to equal a compound effect and a result. And when you see that result and you can feel it, whether that's a bit more money, more leads coming in, you found a new employee, you're making more profit, whatever that looks like to you, as soon as you feel it and see it, it's like game on. This actually works and I want more of it. And then as long as you're personally developing yourself, you become addicted to it then. It's like, right, how can I improve myself? How can I do this better? How can I do that better? How can I become slicker, faster, more profitable? All that lot, then you develop a strong bulletproof mindset. If you need any help and support, inside the show notes and the description. I've left all the links to all the different ways in which we can help and support you, from our Facebook group to our Growth Club to our Inner Circle. The choice is yours. Martin Luther King Jr. had an amazing, famous quote that goes like this: "You don't have to see the full staircase, you just have to take the first step." And finally, remember this: the business is never, ever the problem. The problem is always the mindset of the business owner. I'll catch up with you on next week's episode, and I'll meet you at the top. Thank you.